Welcome to the Cruise Retreat Podcast. My name is Rita M. Perez, and I'm a triple certified travel advisor. But more importantly, I coordinate all the logistics to bring your online community offline through world travel. If you've been yearning to put together a group trip, but overwhelmed with all the details that come with planning, I and this podcast are here to help. Ready to transform lives on the open waters of the world? Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back. Rita here. Thank you for coming on again. So why even cruising? That is the topic of today's discussion. And I just love cruising, so that's why you should retreat on a cruise. The end. There is much more than just because I love it. Strategically, the biggest reason why I choose cruising to have or host your next retreat is because it's more cost effective. And so when we're looking at a retreat landside, you have to pay for the space that you're in. You have to pay for the food and beverage is the biggest expense for retreats. You have to pay for any tech. So if you're especially at a conference center or at a hotel, you have to get your projector. You have to have the people play around with the projector and all that. You have to make sure that your sound's working. So there's all that technical piece that there's support that you're going to be needing. And then you have the retreat is not just supposed to be focused on education or kind of like letting go. There are you want to have activities, and activities or entertainment does cost. And all of those costs are taken care of in the cruise fare. And so when I say you're going to have your cabin, so if you're looking at your hotel, your typical hotel room would be a cabin. That's one expense on land. Then your food and beverage is another expense. Your audiovisual is another expense. Activities and entertainment is another expense. Whereas all those expenses are included in the one cruise cabin. Now, there are some caveats with that. And I will say, so let me say what's included with your cruise that you don't have to worry about. So when your attendees book into your cruise group, they have their cabin taken care of. They have all their meals taken care of, unless they want something specialty. And depending on which cruise line you're sailing with, sometimes the specialties are included. They are not extra. So, and that, again, why you use a travel advisor who knows these types of things. Because if you are a very inclusive and you don't like nickel and diming or upselling, downselling, all this stuff, you just want one package that's cohesive, that's why that is kind of important. Your audiovisual needs, there are minor fees that may need to be paid depending on what your needs are on the cruise ship, but they are so minimal compared to anything that you would get here on land. And then a huge big one also is that activities and the entertainment are also included on board. And not only that, normally if you're doing a land retreat, you are in one spot. You are in Orlando, Florida. You are in Scottsdale, Arizona. Whereas being on a cruise will take you to a couple different destinations. So you get to change your scenery and you really get to disconnect. That's a huge benefit that I've heard from some of the people that I work with, is that it gets them in a different environment. So they kind of shut off the home or the work type environment that they're normally used to, and they get to be in a new environment that helps them decompress a little bit from the normal day-to-day. But it also, while you're decompressing, it also opens the door to have new ideas come into you, which is really great, especially if you're a team leader bringing your team on board, because they're able to there's creativity that's sparking from the open waters, the open skies. I love that reference of the blank palette that you get to work with. It's the blank canvas that you can paint whatever you want on, because you're not in the confines of these and I have beige walls in my house, of these 4 beige walls. You are actually getting out there and getting a little uncomfortable because it is a new setting, and growth really does happen when we're a little bit uncomfortable. So that would be one of the other benefits, is that not only cost-wise, it is so inclusive, but creativity-wise and being able to give some space for downtime, the travel portion is really, really huge. And if you listen to last week, it's kind of like the difference between the ocean and the river cruise. Whereas ocean cruises, you have downtime in the terms of sea days. River cruises, you don't have so much like total sea days, but you have periods of sea time where you can see from your balcony cabin, or you go up to the top of the river ship and you're able just to see the landscape as a whole, kind of digest and decompress from all that you've learned or all that you've experienced and really take things in. So, and I think that is why I love cruising, because it really is it can be a transformative experience. Like I'll never forget like going on my cruise on Virgin Voyages in December and being like, that was the most relaxed I've ever been. And like having so much experience, having sailed on 30 cruises now, I'm able to identify better what cruise line is going to be great for whatever vibe it is that you're wanting. Same thing, what cruise line is going to be great for the branding of your business. So there's that cost inclusivity. There's the creative ideas. If we're talking in all practicality, you only have to unpack once, which again, if you were staying at a hotel or a conference center or whatnot, yeah, that's true. You're only unpacking once, but you're staying in one place versus you can be traveling to a couple different places, experience a little bit of their culture, either bite size on an ocean cruise or a little bit more full length when you are on a river cruise, depending on which sailing that you're at. But, it's just a richer experience than and it's also, I would say, more exciting. I think, regardless, any travel type of retreat is going to be exciting because it's going to get people out of their comfort zone, which really, again, is key for generating new ideas and being able to build upon maybe ideas that have stuck but never like really clicked before. But yeah, that is why I choose cruise. And not only that, I have really, really great cruise suppliers. And I think this goes a lot with safety as well, that there is much more support safety wise, especially if we're talking about the current situation that's going on in the world right now. And when I say that, it's not that you are just going to a hotel or staying at an Airbnb or whatever. I mean, I know many people are taking up the staying at an Airbnb for safety, but who is there to help you if something happens? If somebody needs to be tested, if someone needs to go to a hospital, it all relies on you. If somebody needs to take a taxi or an Uber or whatever, you are the main person in charge. You as the retreat planner, the retreat host, that's all on your shoulders. Whereas when I utilize my cruise suppliers, there is a whole team. Like there are COVID response teams with some of these cruise lines that know the protocols of each of the individual destinations, already have connections if you need to be transferred to like a different hotel, or transfer like from the ship to the hotel. If you need to they know the facilities to go to be tested. They have partnerships with that. It's just, there's so many like levels that you need to think about, especially with our current times, that if you go independently, and even like hotels, I don't think hotels are very in depth unless you're going the luxury route, to help you out and to support you with this. And not only to support you, but to support the people that you are with. So that is one of the reasons also why I choose cruise, because they just make life simpler for you. So I've talked about the cost. I've talked about only unpacking once, and that you get to actually travel to a couple different destinations instead of just the one destination. You really get to unpack your mind and clear your mind, being away from the day-to-day, because you are physically going to a new destination. And not only that, cruising is kind of synonymous with non-connectivity. Now, you can be connected because, of course, there's Wi-Fi and all that. But when I mean non-connectivity, like let's say you're hosting something in your hometown or the hometown of most of where your clients live at, their day-to-day can carry over with them, meaning like mom and dad type of responsibilities or pet responsibilities, or something happens at home, which obviously we hope never happens. But when you are physically away from the destination, somebody else has to take care of that, which means that while you and your attendees are on their cruise experience, they can really focus in on whatever the transformation is that you are providing them. So let me know, what questions do you have that kind of came up from this discussion as to why I prefer cruising on your retreat versus going to some land opportunity for your retreat. There's the cost factor. There's more included with the cost. There is the whole factor of physically being away, unpacking only once, that you get to travel to a couple destinations versus one. Let me know if you would like to chat a little bit more. Send me an email. If you are interested and intrigued at this idea, especially if you want to head over to Europe, make sure that you download my new free audio series about why your next retreat should be on a river cruise. That is it for me this week. I hope you have enjoyed this session. I will see you next week. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining me on the Cruise Retreat podcast. Please subscribe and leave the show a rating so more team and community leaders like yourself can get access to these episodes. See you next week.